Okay.
This is New Amsterdam Radio. It's your host, Flobo, Boyce, and I want to thank everyone on the Patreon for supporting the brand, supporting the show, supporting this guy as he continues the journey of being a content creator. But being joined today is also a content creator, a good friend of mine, an advisor sometimes. He cracks the whip when he needs to. He's encouraging when he feels like it. Give it up for the man who calls himself the Hall of Farmer, Jack Farmer. How you doing, sir?
I'm having a great day. I am ahead in my water drinking, which is always a good sign. You should always drink more water, Flo, but we all need more water. I struggle with it, but today I'm kind of ahead of schedule. I think I'm going to get all my water in for the day.
Are you like a tap water guy, pH balanced water, artesian water? Like, what's your deal?
I do bottled water, but I just buy the gallons, the big gallon water bottles.
Yeah, I'm fancy, but not fancier than you. That's very that's very simple of you, man.
I like the gallon waters because it's easy to track how much I'm drinking. So that's why I like them.
How does that work at home though? Do you like carry the gallon around with your house with you, or like the bodybuilders, or do you just measure out of cups and stuff?
I just measure out with cups.
Okay.
I don't keep it around with me.
Yeah, I'm living the bachelor life, so I totally do that. I'll be the first one to say I will buy a gallon jug just so I can be like, yeah, now it's in the living room.
There is something cool about the glug glug glug, and when you drink a lot of it, and it like goes glug 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 glug.
I said that. The older I get, the more childish I get. I swear. So you do a lot of things out there in the world, the planet. Just a little search on the internet says you're a DJ, an MC. You're now doing hosting as well. Like, how would you describe what your brand is today to someone else, the uninitiated?
I'm someone that talks too much, I think is what I would say.
Content, as we say, we're content creator.
I'm a content creator. No, basically, I'm someone that I say I talk too much, but as you said, I'm a DJ, I'm an MC, I'm a live event host. I now host wrestling and sports podcasts as well. Maybe dabbling into some music-based shows soon. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, just someone who likes to get in front of a microphone and talk.
So this time last year, if I can divulge a little bit, that this was kind of like the beginning of your broadcasting side. I mean, you had experience on the microphone, you could project, you had the personality, but you putting it on wax, right? You putting this was about a year or so. Since then, we've seen not only your personal growth, I've seen your personal growth, but we're seeing a little bit of the Jack Farmer brand here. Let's talk about this YouTube page I've seen now. Jack Farmer on his own YouTube page. Where's that going? What's the decision for you to make the page, and what's happening down the pipe?
So, as you know, I was a DJ and an MC first and foremost. And then what I wanted to do and what I was always wanting the next step to be was I wanted to host big concerts, like those. I imagine like a Woodstock where you have the person that comes out and says, "Up next, ladies and gentlemen, it's Green Day," or whatever the case is. And then they come out and
everyone at the Social Senior Center goes, "Oh my gosh, Green Day!"
I don't know why. I like Green Day growing up, so that's the one I picked. Sorry. It's Kanye, whatever. So
President West to you.
Which I guess, yeah, it's President West. So I wanted to do that, and I realized that most of the people that had those kinds of opportunities were people that had radio shows. So I started asking myself, I'm a DJ that does live events. Why don't I start looking at radio shows or broadcasting? That's when you helped me get in touch with AfterBuzz. And through AfterBuzz, obviously, had great opportunity to host a lot of their wrestling and sports shows, along with some of the other shows. Now, AfterBuzz has recently gone on hiatus, and so it's time to branch off and create my own channel and create my own content, as we say. And so getting the YouTube page going, I'm hoping to make it a hub for all sorts of wrestling chat, whether it be reviews, whether it be opinions, whether it be projections, things like that. I don't know. It's still sort of living and breathing. We'll see where that goes. I can't really say for sure. I've never really had a plan with where I want things to go. I just sort of work with what I got and try to keep pushing forward. So we'll see.
Work with what I got as you kiss each bicep. I just try to make sure work what I got. One of the shows on the network, I just guess had its rebirth second season. Wrestling with Your Questions, co-hosted by this guy, my partner in
Yep.
crime, which was definitely a quarantine show because as long as it's been on the air, I think 15 weeks, we have never done it in the same room before.
Right.
I want to hear your side of how this show started, because both of us were isolated, and it was an idea via text, and we ended up doing it for 14 weeks on one channel before going to the Jack Farmer channel. So, what's like your perspective of how it came together?
Well, to initially answer that question, I was sitting on my couch and you texted me. And then the way I remember it is you basically said we should do a show. And I said, okay. And then you drug me into it. And here
Oh,
we
okay.
are.
That's not what I think happened at all, but okay.
No, it was. So something with AfterBuzz, again, it's great. I'm only going to say positive things about it. But when you're there, even they will tell you that it's not the finish line. Being at AfterBuzz isn't the finish line. You need to find ways to grow beyond AfterBuzz, whether it be getting signed somewhere or creating your own content. And after being on a lot of shows together, we decided that we need to do something to grow beyond wrestling. And the discussion went from, should we do a review show, to no, there's already a million review shows regarding pro wrestling. You can type in wrestling into iTunes and you're going to get 1,000 different options. Same with YouTube. What do you do differently? Plus, we don't want to encroach on what we were doing at AfterBuzz as well, because that would be a little weird to have a Raw review show of our own and a Raw review show on AfterBuzz. Right. So we started talking about just answering people's questions and working more directly with the people who are listening and viewing, and really opening up the opportunity for us to talk about the things that you and I would text each other about, because you and I would text each other constantly, or I would text you questions, I think, more than you texted me questions.
I feel real smart about it. Always asking my opinion. Well,
yeah. I would always ask random hypothetical questions, and you'd answer them. And eventually, because you're very good about saying, let's actually do this instead of let's talk about doing it, you said, okay, cool. When are we going to do this? And Thursdays at 3 p.m. was decided on. And once
it wasn't decided. You told me what it was. So this is how I remember it happening. We were under quarantine, and I had just recently broken up with my girlfriend. I swear I will bet money Jack was checking in with me to make sure that I didn't jump off the side of the building. And he's like, hey, maybe we should probably hang out. Maybe we should probably, if you want to check in or something, we can always talk for an hour. And I go, But a couple weeks go by, and I'm like, I'm kind of bored. Let me see if Jack is still interested. To see if this offer that he made was still on the table. And so the first episode was Saturday at 3, and it was good. And Jack was like, well, what do you think the next episode? I'm like, hey, man, same time, same place. He goes, let's do Thursday. And then it became Thursday. So it wasn't agreed upon at all. It was just... but I love wrestling with your questions, because it is, on the surface, an extension of what we did at the time. It was like the show was a review show. This was more of like the questions and hanging out, teacher's lounge, if you will. But then it kind of evolved. We started having our own segments, and now it's the crown jewel of the new Jack Farmer Network, which I think is going to grow even bigger. And since we have you in the background, if you guys can see this, those of you who are listening to this, Jack is in the studio, and behind him it looks like a Broasters coffee pack over there. Now, I don't want to get into the financials of it all, but a lot of our listeners here are building their own brands, they're growing, and there's always a decision of whether or not to work with other brands. Some say, oh, I'm going to enterprise with everybody, collab, and they'll say, hey, look, man, I'm about the art. What was your decision to jump into collaborating with a brand, and how's that going for you so far?
Well, as far as collaboration goes, first off, I think you should always keep an open mind to any type of collaboration. You never know where things are going to lead. And as mentioned, that's kind of how my whole career has sort of gone. Even getting into AfterBuzz was you and me chatting about it, and you saying you should try it out, or I asked about trying it out, probably. But it's so I work with Broasters. I also work with smarkbutton.com, thebroasters.com.
Of course.
The thing with this is maybe just a little too businessy and maybe not fun, but at the end of the day, you can be passionate about stuff, you can be artistic, you can have vision, But at the end of the day, it's about selling products, really. Everything you're doing is about selling a product, whether it be selling the painting that you painted or whether it be selling advertising space, whatever the case may be. And there's an old saying that I go by, which is every shelf needs to pay rent. And so something that I did as we were growing, something that AfterBuzz always talks about is you have to grow your brand and you have to find a way to make lanes for yourself. And so Smart Button was the first one I reached out to. I saw them on Twitter. I followed them on Twitter, and I'll be honest, I wanted to play with one of them. I was like, I want to play with one of these buttons. Like, what does it say when I push the button? For those of you who don't know what Smart Button is, do yourself a favor, visit www.thesmartbutton.com and type in promo code HEEL, HEEL. And but what it is you hit the button and it gives you a randomly generated crowd response that you would hear at a arena.
Like the Staples Easy button.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly the Staples Easy button, but with wrestling reactions. And so I was curious what reactions there were and how it would sound and things like that. And because we did a show about wrestling, I was like, hey, I'm just going to reach out and see if maybe we can partner together and do something. And they were great. They were very responsive. And so they sent over some stuff and I got to play with it. It's great. It's fun, especially around the house when, you're talking to the missus and she's like, hey, I'm going to make this for dinner. And you press the button and it's like, this is awesome. It's funny. It's silly. It's a fun, silly little toy to have. And then, so fast forward a little bit, you and I were interviewing Vince Russo, who is a very well-known writer for pro wrestling. And
interview get you scored, by the way.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That was kind of the same situation. We can talk about that if you want. But as far as Broasters, basically, he said that he had a brand of coffee that it's not his brand of coffee, but they have a specialty blend, Russo Bro coffee. And so I was thinking, I'm going to go try out Russo Bro. But then I was like, instead of just buying it, I'm going to call him and see about maybe working out some kind of partnership. And I called them. Great business there. Talked to the owner, Steve. He's a really cool guy, small mom and pop kind of business. And we chatted about just different ways we can work together. And again, they sent over some stuff, great coffee as well, a bunch of different flavors. And this is Russo Bro brand behind me. I like it because it's got Vince Russo on it, making sure I'm working. So I keep a pack there. But right now I'm drinking their Ethiopian blend. That's what's in the cup right now. I live listen, I support what supports me. So I'm drinking some coffee. Basically I think a lot of times when people are creatives, they don't think about how do you make money from this, which if you want it to be your business, you have to stop and say, cool, I'm doing a podcast, but how is it going to financially support me? You don't just get money from the podcast fairy for having a podcast.
Man, I wish there were a podcast fairy. Why not?
Right. Exactly. And so same thing, I always say with like Instagram, people will be like, hey, I'm going to try to buy followers. Well, great. What do the followers mean? The followers don't mean anything. How do you monetize that? And so that was just sort of, I think the dark side of being a creative that a lot of people don't like to embrace, that you've got to shoot your shot and find sponsors and find ways to make it financially viable. And those are two companies that I reached out to, had great conversations. Fortunately, they're great people, so it's been fun to work with them. And here I am.
Do you worry about, I know it's very in the beginning of your career, but do you worry about like overexposure or quote unquote selling out? I got to ask that question only because there's always the opposite side of people saying, oh no, don't collab at all, or don't work with business at all, focus on the craft and the money will come, quote unquote. But do you worry when someone comes to you or you make a phone call to a brand partnership that's a little bit too fast or too soon? Or is it kind of like you've earned that stage and it only makes sense to your girl?
So that's a great question. I mean, off the bat, I would look like a NASCAR car if it made sense. I'll tell you, I'd have stickers all up and down my arms. No, but in all seriousness,
we're going to church, Jack. What are you
doing? In all seriousness, first off, I wouldn't want to partner with a brand that doesn't fit what I do or who I am. So if someone said, hey Jack, do you want to start being a partner in something that say I'm not super interested in, whatever the case may be. I'm probably not going to want to do it because I don't want to say I like something that I'm not really that into. I want to believe in what I'm trying to be sponsored and partnered with. And also, if I don't believe that I can give value to people, I don't want to be a sponsor. I'm a small business owner. You're a small business owner. And whenever you own a business of any kind, you will get bombarded with people trying to sell you on exposure or sell you on marketing or, hey, for this low price, we will promote you on our brand or whatever. And you quickly find it's a waste of money and it's a waste of resources and it's a waste of what you're working very hard to build. And I never want to be that person. I never want to be the person that's like, hey, give me. You didn't get anything. You're a sucker. Moving on to the next person. You don't realize that I'm trying to bamboozle you. Cool. Give me all, I don't want to do that. I want to be the person that I want Brosters. I want Smart Button. I want everyone to feel like, wow, that was a great partnership. It worked out for everyone. We're really glad that we did it.
Oh yeah. That's a good, noble pursuit. Again, small business owners get the worst. I think I was at a seminar a couple of years ago, and the speaker, which name escapes me, which totally defeats the purpose of his anecdote, but she said that like usually it's realtors and used car dealers that will buy anything to get their name out there because no one's going to buy a house today, no one's going to buy a car today, but when the thought comes, you want to think, oh wait, Flobito Motors of Downey has cars. Let me go check it out. And money gets thrown a lot by people that want to work with other brands or what have you. Now, you said with the Brosters, you're on the Ethiopian blend. It's about 2:00 in the afternoon by this taping. And I want people to know this about Jack. And I guess I know him close enough I can say this. He doesn't sleep. Because I will send him text messages at 1 a.m. and he responds 6:30 a.m. I'm like, what? Is he Batman? Like, what is going on? So I got to ask, what number cup of coffee are you on right now? Is that 3 or is that 4?
I don't really know how many cups it is, to be totally honest. I have a very, very cheap generic coffee maker at home, right? The kind you would get like Walgreens. And I do 2 pots a day. So whatever 2 pots is, I'm on my second pot. I usually will do one as soon as I wake up, and then I do one like after lunch. Okay. I started drinking that much coffee, not even actually, honestly, for the coffee's sake of it, but because it helps suppress my appetite, if I'm totally honest.
True, it does.
And so that was the main reason I started drinking it. Now I just love it. I like drinking coffee. So I like having a cup with me all day. I don't know. I don't know what cup this is. I guess it says it's a 5-cup pot. So I guess it sounds like 10. I don't drink 10 cups of coffee. That's ridiculous.
I mean, but a cup of coffee is like the ones you get like that big.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the small ones.
Yeah. So I don't know. I would say this cup here, which is from the Peterson Automotive Museum. They do not sponsor me, but I'm still going to give them a shout out because their logo's here. I do events there though sometimes, so I guess they kind of sponsor me. So this is like the 4th of these. It's like the 4th one of these.
So just breaking news, how many hours do you sleep a day? Is it like 3? Is it 2?
I don't have a real specific schedule, I guess. I'm very fortunate in that I kind of just go to bed whenever it feels like I'm tired, and then
must be nice.
And then I wake up. I usually wake up at 6 because I have a cat and a dog, and they typically will not let me sleep much later than that.
Right.
Whether I want to or not, and so that's usually when the sun's kind of coming up, anyways. And so I usually get up, and the first hour I'm one of those guys that kind of I'm not super productive that first hour. It's kind of just hanging around, turn on the coffee pot, let the dog out, that kind of stuff. But I give my first hour of sort of just like, hey, I'm awake. And then by 7, I'm up and running.
By 7 a.m., I'm up and running. I'm still in bed. You're a role model, good sir.
That's not to say that there are times where I catch up on it all. I'm not going to act like I've never had like a late sleep-in kind of day. But
whatever. You just take it down to be mere mortals to justify selling coffee. You're like, I'm always awake. I don't need that. Totally fine. One of the more spirited discussions we've ever had, and if it's too personal, I mean, we can hold it and talk about it. But I want to anyway. One of the most. But think about it, Jack. We never did anything super deep, right? So
Right.
the most spirited debates we had I want our listeners to hear this because I think it's a very cool perspective from you, and that is. You don't appreciate when someone refers to what you do in your position in life as lucky. And I wanted to see why that was when it comes to everything, right? Like, why is being lucky not the best way to describe your journey, good sir?
Oh, so, yeah, that is. I get heated about that sometimes. We did have a pretty spirited discussion about this. I will say there is a difference between lucky and fortunate. I think because people will say you're lucky because I think people don't understand how much work goes into everything that you do. Like you yourself, Flobo, one day you're going to have a show. You're going to be on like NBC hosting a show, and people are going to say, Flobo, you're so lucky that you got this job. And when they say that, it is incredibly disrespectful, in my opinion, to all the things you're doing before. Like, you're not getting paid for this interview right now. You're not getting paid for a ton of things that you're doing, but you're putting in the time, you're working on it. You go back and listen to yourself so you can improve what you're doing. You get other people's opinions. You have mentors. You're doing all this stuff to get to the next level. So when someone says you're lucky for making it, to me, it's like you didn't like buy a lottery ticket and cash in. Like, you put the work in. Now, again, fortunate, like certain things broke your way, so you're able to make it. But luck, to me, luck implies that you didn't do anything to get there. Luck implies that you stumbled into it, and lo and behold, here you are. Fortunate, which I know doesn't sound different, but to me, fortunate just means it worked out. Your investment worked out, but you still worked to get there. And so I get offended when people say you're lucky you were on AfterBuzz, or you're lucky you get to talk about pro wrestling, or you're lucky you get to DJ. Because people weren't calling me lucky when I left my job to DJ full time originally, as you know.
You're so lucky if you got employed.
You know that first day you wake up as a business owner without a job is not a lucky feeling.
No, it isn't.
And
Thanksgiving Day, in my case, it was Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah. And so, first off, everyone's telling you you're stupid when you do that. Everyone's like, you're so stupid. Why did you do that? Why did you give up a sure thing? I can't believe you're doing this. You can always go back and get another job. And they're talking you out of it. And then success clicks. And everyone's like, oh, you're so lucky. It's like, what are you talking about? You naysayed me to death the whole time.
Right.
I was struggling with nothing, looking at the bank account without seeing a surefire check coming in, but I found a way to make it work. And now you're saying I'm lucky. It drives me nuts. It gets me heated. I mean, again, I could have failed, so I'm fortunate, but I certainly don't say it's lucky. There's tons of work that goes into it. LeBron James isn't lucky he's playing basketball at the level he's playing it at. He's fortunate that he's tall, and he's fortunate that certain things broke his way.
Right.
But he's certainly not lucky he's the best player going right now.
Guys, Jack Farmer's LeBron James confirmed. I'm so glad that just broke live. Wow. I mean, it's interesting because I never thought of it that way. I guess maybe it's me personally. I don't want to make it an institutional thing, but my success, when it's marginalized, I don't get hit with the lucky word. I get usually hit with like affirmative action hire, or it's because we need more diversity, right? So I guess I was disgruntled in that way. And I think hearing that perspective, the lucky thing, I can see it. I can see it almost negates like the long sleepless nights, the long nights that you don't sleep,
right.
Going, how are the bills going to get paid, or something along those lines. And I guess I kind of shifted my perspective on things too. So now I'm also triggered when people say that I'm lucky. Question for you though, it is something that I've heard people debate both sides of this. So there's no right or wrong answer, but do you consider yourself self-made? Why or why not?
Ooh, that's a good question to follow up the lucky comment.
Hey!
No, I'm not self-made at all. I am purely the was it when you bring a bunch of different people, the amalgamation, the conglomeration, sure. I don't know if I'm using the right words, but
I don't know where you're going with
basically, I've I've taken from a lot of people over the years and what they have done and what I've learned from them. I've learned from you. I've learned from other hosts I've worked with. I've learned from different just coaches and in my life, like in high school, my cross country coaches. I've learned from my bosses over the years. I've learned from other DJs. I've learned from other hosts. So there's no way am I self-made. There's so many people that have helped me get to where I am today. Without them, I'd be nothing. 100%. And I also, of course, first and foremost, have to say that I've got great parents who have always been supportive. My mom still watches every show I do, even though she does. My mom, bless her heart, does not watch wrestling. Never watched wrestling. No idea what's going on in wrestling. She still watches my AfterBuzz shows every week.
Really? Every week?
Yep. She says it's just like having you back at home. So I love my mom. She's super supportive. She will watch an AEW Dynamite show and me talk about Jon Moxley. She's never seen Jon Moxley in her life. Couldn't pick him out of a lineup, but she'll still listen to me talk about him. I've just had support all around. And so no way is it on my own. I'm very fortunate to have these people in my life.
I never met your mom, but I got super warm and fuzzies hearing that story. She's probably like, I love you, Jack, but that Monday show, that guy who talks too fast, I don't like that much. But I don't care. Jack Farmer's mom is amazing. My mom actually doesn't like wrestling either, but she'll choose not to watch it, not because of me or whatever. But and I remember I figured this out like about a month ago. I told you that it was Ken Patera. That guy has ruined the sport for her. So she can't even. It's like 30 years ago. Like, is he still around? No, Mom. He's long gone. But also, we're talking about your support network and system and the bullpen, if you will. You live in a too creative household. Don't want to get too into your personal life, but you are a spoken for individual. Has that tempered your approach a bit? Living in a world where your partner in crime is also creative, as opposed to being single or being with someone who's an accountant or something like that. Has that really changed your outlook on the process?
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of people who have supported me, my girlfriend, by the way, having her in my life is a huge reason why I've been able to do some of the things I can do. So shout out to Emmy. She's amazing and really a huge, my biggest fan, I'd say, my biggest supporter there. It has, Mom takes second place. No, so 1A and 1B, Mom and Emmy. You guys are 1A and 1B. But Emmy, so she is a creative, and she's also kind of a Renaissance woman in the sense that she can sort of do it all. She can sing, she can dance, she's very artistic visually. She does hair and makeup. She works also for a large company doing photo editing. So everyone has probably seen some of her work somewhere. She's also gotten to do some cool stuff working with celebrities and things like that. So, which actually isn't that impressive outside of LA, maybe. I feel like in LA, everyone's connected to a celebrity somehow. But she,
me, apparently.
No, you know me. No,
true. You got me there. Yeah.
I'm joking, but it's the thing is we're very different in our skill sets. She's got such an attention to detail and such a strong, good eye. And that's my weakness is detail and a strong eye. So a lot of times she'll catch the things I miss, where I think I'm pretty good at being sort of the person that looks at the bigger picture. And so I think we complement each other. She compliments me. I don't know if I compliment her, but she definitely compliments me.
I was about to say, man, I think when we work together, you're way more detailed than I am. I mean, I take notes, but like you have rundowns for our shows and we have like processes and stuff, man. I think you're pretty detail oriented.
I like to think so. That's something I definitely get from my mom, by the way. My mom is the most meticulous, detailed person I've ever met in my life. Let me put it this way. She has, so for Christmas, she'll buy me and my three sisters, she buys us gifts. She keeps a list. So she spends not only the exact same amount on all of us every year, but it's the same number of boxes to open. So it's not like so like if I was to get one big expensive present, she would make sure I get a bunch of little presents to make sure I'm opening the same number of boxes as my sisters.
Whoa.
And if the numbers don't even out exactly every year, she'll keep tally. And so it'll like, like in 2016, Jack got $50 more. So for the next 4 years, I'm going to take $10 off of whatever I spent. You know what I mean? So it
it's
evens
like a sports
out.
deal, like
No, it's
a 5-year, $3,000 Christmas deal.
Yeah, she's super detailed, and she does Christmas dinner for the family, and she literally has notebooks of like exactly how to run everything, and she's so detailed with all this stuff. I can't even dream of being that detailed.
Difficult?
I was difficult. I was gonna say it's so difficult for me. I can only dream about being that detail oriented, but she has it she's just a machine. She runs her own business, so I think maybe it's just built in that way with her. But she's just a machine on planning and being detailed. And I think I've taken some of that, and I'm thankful for that as well. But yeah, she is. Flobo, one of these days, I'm gonna have to take a few photos of her notebooks on how to run Christmas dinner, just so you can see how detailed she is. Because it's not like written on. By the way, it's also not written on like regular line notebook paper. It's like on graph paper, so she can draw lines and like circle things. It's insane. It's so impressive.
Archaeologists would be so confused.
Like,
what is going on here? Christmas dinner? Why is there schematics? I don't know why.
Yeah.
So we're actually recording this July 13th, and New Amsterdam Radio airs every Thursday. But this episode will be special because we're releasing it on your birthday of July 21st. So this is going to be a special edition of New Amsterdam Radio with the man himself, Jack Farmer. And I've gushed about you before. But I really want to say this, man, from the bottom of my heart. This is for all the creatives out there. I was a guy that liked to do things. People say I'm a getter, but I really had no direction. Like you, I responded to an ad on ZipRecruiter and went to a creepy guy's office, and I became a DJ. And we were coworkers for about a year and a half. And when I got laid off on that Thanksgiving day, probably because I didn't keep any notes of how to make dinner that night, I got a call from my job saying, day job's over, get the hell out. I didn't know what to do. And my man Jack told me, look, you can start doing this, change your Instagram this, delete your website, no one cares about your weekly poetry. You're now a DJ now in Southern California. And I'll tell you what, I am not out of the woods yet. It's still a battle every month, especially with the global pandemic. But I always tell people that, you taught me how to fish. You put food on my table. And I'm so glad I get to be here on your virtual birthday, even though it's not your birthday today. It will be your birthday eventually. And yeah, man, you've been a good friend, confidant, and sometimes rival, especially when it comes to tournaments and all that. And I want to thank you. But do you have any plans of celebrating, I guess, this year, and any kind of bucket list items for the next 365 days?
Man, I didn't teach you to fish at all. I just showed you where the fishing spots are. That's all I did. You already. I want everyone to envision this guy saying you taught me to fish when he approaches me like some guy with a harpoon ready to spearfish himself already, as he's got like fish lined up on the harpoon. He's like, teach me to fish.
Yeah,
no, you knew how to fish already. I just said, hey, this is a good spot. Try over here. That's all I did. But as far as celebrating my birthday, by the way, you got the birthday right. I don't publicize that very often, so good on you. Yeah, it is coming, whether I like it or not.
Slow down time, bro. Yeah.
It is so funny how there's that weird change of life where you're like, I can't wait for my birthday. Can't wait for my birthday. It's my birthday. It's my birthday. No, it's my birthday. Stop.
It's just a Tuesday, It's just.
So it is funny. I don't really do a lot of celebrating on my birthday. I used to go out and like try to party and stuff. I quit drinking a little over a year ago. But even before that, like when you don't drink, it feels like for some reason it's like you don't like go out and rage anymore or like do that kind of stuff as hard anymore. And so I got really basic. Like I like to just like go see a movie and eat poorly. That's like what I like to do on my birthday. So I'll probably go get like Krispy Kreme donuts and like rent a movie or something. I'm pretty simple for my birthday.
Yeah. Do you do any kind of like special foods that make the cut? Like I don't usually have beef Wellington, but on my birthday I go for it, for example.
No, I don't have anything that it's really what I'm in the mood for. Like, I think last year, for my birthday, this is so weird, but I was like, I wanted, I think peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or something. And so I made a bunch of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Oh boy.
I love childish food. I love candy. I love sweets. I love donuts. I love sugary things. I can't remember what I did on my birthday last year, but I don't really do anything that big. You know what? I may have actually last year. Was it a Monday? Was the 21st on Monday? Did I work at AfterBuzz on my birthday last year? I don't think I did.
Because it's a leap year. So it'd have
been you're right. It would have been a Sunday. So I don't think I did work on my birthday. I don't know what I did. I don't know. I don't do it. I'll usually get something incredibly unhealthy to eat and watch a movie that's terrible. I like bad movies. Not bad movies as in like The Room, but just bad movies that most people would be like, this is a stupid movie.
You mean like the Saturday afternoon creature feature, like the action movie with the bad graphics or something like that? Or
more just I love bad action movies. Like, I love the movies where they end with someone saying, what do we do next? And the hero looks at them and goes, we rebuild. You know, that kind of
very specific.
I like movies where the hero has to dive into the water and swim through a tunnel and get to the other side before he runs out of breath. You know,
I can just imagine you sitting there with a smart button. This is awesome. Just like popping hard. Yeah.
I need to see at some point the hero running in front of a wall and bullets hitting the wall right behind him is what I need to see.
Gotcha.
I need to see them walk away from an explosion without turning around. That's the kind of movies I love. I actually just watched a movie from 1994 last night called No Escape with Ray Liotta. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It's awful, but it's good. It's a terrible movie, but I loved it.
I just saw Nighthawk, the one with Stallone from like back in the 70s.
Oh,
yeah,
love it.
It's pretty terrible too. Billy D. Williams is in it. You're like, well, what the? This is
Billy D. Williams.
Go 45 every time. But yo, Jack, I want to say thank you so much for being on this episode of New Amsterdam Radio. As I always say this on our former network now, where can the world find you online?
You can find me at jackcfarmer.com as well as at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. You can also check me out on Wrestling with Your Questions with Flobo right here every single Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Every now and again, I like to pop in on the Everything tournament as well every Tuesday. And that is probably one of my favorite things going right now. That's a good, fun show to be a part of. If you don't know what it is, check it out. I'm sure you're going to talk all about that in just a second. But right now, those are the things. Keep in tune to my Twitter specifically because a bunch of new announcements may be coming soon. And that's what we call a tease, ladies and gentlemen.
I love teases. Yeah, the Everything Tournament is a show that myself and Evan Mack and Howdy Mack are part of. It's a pop culture tournament where we have special guests where Jack Farmer is on. I shake my head every time everyone mentions it because this has been a smear campaign on social media at the Everything Tournament that I am a hater and a cheater of this pop culture tournament with no rules. How can you cheat if there's no rules? That's the only reason why. But I'm so glad you're on the show too because we have that same connection. Like, hey, look, we were in that network together and now we're having fun outside of school hours. But yeah, last question for you. I'm a firm believer in this motto, and I teased you earlier before, is make your hometown proud. Do you have a motto or an axiom or a mantra before you perform or hit on stage or go out?
So I do, and I say at the end, or I used to say at the end of all the AEW shows, and I guess I say at the end of all the Wrestling with Your Question episodes too. It's a saying that my grandma used to say years ago, and it was it's something that I've always felt applies at any given moment. It always works. It's always good advice. There's never been a moment in my life that I felt like it doesn't apply, and that is do your best and be yourself. And so that's what I do. I just try to think about am I doing my best and am I being myself? And so that's my motto.
You're gonna make me cry, man. Come on back to the show, man. New Amsterdam Radio, especially with the YouTube pops off. You have 1 billion subscribers because I want people to know that we were friends beforehand.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thanks for having me.